What's up, people? I am back. I figured because originally wasn't gonna review it. I figured I was just gonna, you know, put my thoughts on it like Twitter and Instagram. But fuck it, decided to do a video today. I am gonna be reviewing Megan, and this will be a review. I liked. Here's how I'll say it. It's decent. I think it got better in the end, but it needed to be R. Apparently there is an R-rated cut coming, like I mentioned the other day, but it's like this should have been R-rated. So basically, the premise is, um, Katie loses her parents. You see that in the beginning of the film, and she ends up moving with her aunt, Gemma, who works for this toy company that she's trying to develop this AI toy, and she's been for years trying to develop Megan, but it didn't work. And it's just here's the problem with the film. I would besides the R rating, the characters really aren't likable. I'm gonna say Katie's annoying as fuck. I'm sorry. Not in the beginning. I think she's fine in the beginning, and then she kind of gets a little better in the end. But that middle portion, she gets annoying. And I get it, she's a kid, but God, and it's not even like she's a bad kid actress, but it's just like in plot, I was getting annoyed by her. And then Gemma is kind of a shitty aunt. Like if you're just being honest, she literally only cares about her career and not actually caring about being a caretaker. It's just, and it's mixed. If they had made the aunt a bit more likable, I think the film could have worked a bit more. But it's like clearly these are supposed to be the characters like these are supposed to be the characters that are like supposed to be the ones we follow, right? But it's just for me, I've always said fundamentally, it's hard to like a story when your characters aren't likable, like your main characters, because it's like these are the people we're following for like an hour and a half or 2 hours or however long. But once Megan, I really would say came in the picture, who I think they must say it, they took too long to get to her. Like it's like she doesn't come for like I was in the theater, so I couldn't. I didn't calculate obviously how long we were at what point, but it felt like a good 30 to 40 minutes in before Megan was fully introduced to the story. But once she came in the story, I'll say she's definitely like the biggest positive. She was creepy, the way she moved, the way she spoke, the amount of shit. And it's like, I think what made it work is because this could kind of happen. I could see a future where she exists. Because where Gemma works, it's this like place that just it was like a kind of like a form of a Furby. I forgot what they're called, Fur Pal or something, but essentially it's like AI toy. Like that's kind of what they're working on. And Megan gets built because she wanted a builder for Katie, and Katie starts growing a connection with it, and this is where obviously it goes kind of not Chucky, but like I guess similar, right? She gets connected to Katie, and she doesn't want anyone harming Katie, so she starts killing anyone that basically harms Katie. Like she kills a dog. Well, they don't show it, to be fair, but yeah, this is where I think it falls apart too. Is a little bit is the kills. It should have been R-rated. There are some kills in here. Like I'll jump ahead a bit. There's a scene where she kills Gemma's boss David and his assistant, but they were PG. They were cut out, and well, not cut out, but like she used like a blade that's like used for cutting like paper, but like the really long one. In an R-rated movie, that would be like cutting limbs and shit. And I'm not saying they need to go for like Terrifier 2, right? But holy shit. Pet peeve is when you have a blade like that and there's not a lot of blood. I'm sorry. A lot of the time, if you're using a bladed weapon, there's going to be a lot of blood. Sorry. Stabbing causes blood. Like a lot of blood. So it's a pet peeve when I see that in movies and they're not, like, there's no blood or there's not a lot of blood. Especially how big that blade is. Like, almost like a machete, essentially. And yeah. And then she kills the guy, but then they cut it. Or a lot of the kills they cut, or it's done in a PG-13 way. It's like, come on. Like she pulls a dude's ear off, but they cut it. Or no, they don't cut it, but like you don't see it fully when she pulls it off. If it was R rated, she would dropped it in front of them, they would have shown like the bloody ear. And people are like trying to defend it with like, oh, you can you can set a tone with PG. No, I got to retort. Imagine Seven was PG-13, or Silence of the Lambs, or even the original Halloween, or the original Nightmare on Elm Street, or the original Scream. Yeah, I rest my case. Sorry, horror should be R-rated, especially slashers specifically. And I classify this as basically a slasher, and I just think you can't go all the way and I'm not even just talking kills. I'm talking about in terms of tone. That's why I mentioned Seven, because it's like you couldn't make that movie PG-13 and have the same fucking movie. I just think like a movie like this should have been R-rated. I think that's where it hurts. The movie gets hurt. They got caught up. We need to make PG-13 because money. It's like, and I'm happy it's making money. I guess in a way, I guess they're kind of right? Because it's making decent money. But it's like, I feel like you would have made that money regardless if you made it R-rated. So, but anyway, before I get fully started in the movie, but I guess before anything, the ending was kind of fun. She goes all out and starts killing people. Gemma decides to get rid of it. And I do like a little bit of the ideas in the movie where it's like a commentary on like you can't use like technology as a substitute for, like a thing to just be a substitute for taking care of a kid. And that's kind of the movie asks that a couple times. And I'm like, okay, you're actually trying to ask a legitimate question that actually matters and is universal and isn't like a question about some bullshit far left politic thing. You're actually asking a legitimate question that actually affects everybody. So, I can I'm definitely going to give the movie pointers for that. But yeah, like the final act was pretty fun because there's a scene earlier where Gemma built another robot called Bruce, and they literally have Bruce fight M3GAN. I'm not gonna lie, I was not expecting that, and I'll explain that more when we get to that scene. But I was not expecting that when I first watched. What the fuck? I would watch it again, but I'm definitely interested to see that R-rated cut. I would probably want to watch, if I were to watch that again, I'd almost want to watch that version. See if it brings up the point. Because I'm at a point where part of me wants to give it a 7, but I'm thinking I'm sitting at like a 6. I said that on Instagram, like a 6. I might lift it up a 0.5. I think M3GAN in general was great. And the realism about her works. Because even the way her tech, it's kind of explained. And it's plausible how she's built. It's not, they didn't make her overly over the top to where, like, yeah, she should be, like, in the uber future. Like, it's plausible. Like, I could believe a future where a toy like that happens. So, but yeah, overall, it's not a bad movie. And I'm all for more original, like, granted, it's not fully original, but, something that's not based off a franchise or an existing IP, So, and I'm going to say this. This is what the Child's Play reboot should have did. It should have did its own thing instead of, like, maybe you can obviously have a little call, like, make it, like, you wanted to be, like, an ode to Chucky, but it should have been its own thing. That's what this movie basically is. It's if the Child's Play movie decided to do its own thing and not decide, because it didn't need to be called Child's Play. So I think this movie is another positive. It actually did something that the Child's Play reboot didn't do. It actually decided to be its own thing instead of taking the name Chucky. So, but overall, it's an entertaining movie. I think I'll say that it's entertaining. It gets going, and I can understand why some people like it. It's definitely kind of like I guess a little turn your brain off ish. You don't have to really think about the plot. So overall, I recommend it. So even though I gave it like a 6.5, but cheers, we'll get started here. Tomorrow I'm gonna be listing my favorite horror sequels, which I can't wait to do because I think there is a lot of good horror sequels out there. So that'll be fun to talk about. And I'll admit it's gonna be mainly slasher. I probably should say slasher sequels, but I'll still say horror sequels. But yeah, but we'll get started here. So the movie starts. We're introduced to this family. It's Katie. They're heading to like I think their cabin in Colorado, and they're on a trip. And she's playing with her doll. Uh, Essentially, it's their form. It's like a Furby, but like a mod. It's like a Furby got like uber advanced and had like tech and had like AI. And he can had AI responses. And her parents are. I'll admit the parents aren't that likable, but you only see them for a little bit. While on the trip, they end up getting in a car accident. Um, and Katie ends up surviving. And this is where we meet Gemma. So before Gemma learns about what happened with her parents, she does a presentation to her boss, David, who I'll admit, he's like, even though he's just there just to be an asshole, he's basically just there to be asshole boss. I did kind of find him to be kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie, he had some funny lines, and even I don't know, I liked him, even though he was just there to be asshole. That's it. There's nothing else to his character. It worked for me, and I didn't mind her friends, Gemma's friends, who um, Funky. That's the toy company that she works for. So she does a presentation of M3GAN, but it kind of goes horribly wrong. So this is where, yeah, she takes in Katie, and just from the start, Gemma isn't likable. She clearly doesn't, and I'm not gonna say doesn't care about Katie because she makes a doll for her. So I won't necessarily say that, but it does. Just she seems like she only cares more about her work, and um, I don't know. She just didn't seem likable to me. Not uber unlikable. Like she gets a bit better in like the middle and the end. But she just even like her intro, she's bitchy about like the dog or neighbor's dog in the yard. None of the characters are really likable, for being honest. Like I didn't mind her friends, but besides them, yeah, not really any of the main characters are really that likable. Um, so she has trouble, like obviously taking care of Katie. One night, um, Katie sees her working on M3GAN, not M3GAN, working on the new thing for Funky. She has to give to her boss, and then she has a little discussion, and this is where, so I think Katie mentions a line about like if she can have one toy that can talk to her and have a legitimate, and that's when Gemma decides to try to make M3GAN again, and she ends up working, and this is where we get the debut. But the problem is, this felt like it was like a good 40 minutes in. I think M3GAN could have been introduced way earlier in the movie. I think personally, what they should have been doing is that M3GAN was something she's been working on for a while, and that opening scene she should have worked, and she could have been introduced way earlier. I don't know. I think that'd be the only thing I'd change, really. Besides it being, I would have had it been R-rated from the jump. But um, so, and I'm not gonna lie, M3GAN was off-putting, and I really like the design. It's simple, but it is very uncanny, and I like that. Then everyone sees like, what the fuck? So yeah, she starts connecting with not Gemma, with Katie, and like she can sing, she can dance, um, and she does another presentation with David. So the day presentation with David goes successful, and they try to make it a bigger thing. Um, and yeah, M3GAN becomes like a part of the family. And And even like her friend like even asks like, but she essentially takes because they even have like I love the moments in the movie. Like opening of the film is this like ad that it's like an actual ad. It's shot like an actual ad. Like I really like that. Or even the Megan ad they were trying to do. It actually sounded like an actual ad because they were like while she was doing they were talking about like what Megan could do. Like and essentially it basically takes the role of a parent almost. So I like those little questions this movie does ask during it. It's basically like, what's the point of a parent? And then yeah, Katie gets a therapist, um, and you know the therapist lady really has no point besides oh she's worried that Katie is getting too attached to Meg. And that's it. That's really all her character is in the movie. I'd almost say she's not really needed, but and also I'd almost say she was just there for extra body. Um, and then yeah, eventually Megan starts kind of doing things on her own. One day so I think like not late, fucking Katie is playing with arrows and she loses one, and Megan with her like essentially Terminator vision ends up finding there near the hole where the dog shows up, and yeah, she tries to get it. The dog attacks her, and then the dog bites Katie, which it's sad. And then freak out Katie, and then the police cop. That was the other thing. What was the point of that cop character? I think he was like almost like the one character there was no need. He's just there to have a cop there because all he was just there for to have the little because there was throughout the film Gemma kind of has like this little feud with the neighbor lady who's like her dog keeps getting in her yard, which I just didn't need because all that really was just there for it was just you need setup so somebody can die. Like neighbor lady needed to die because Katie she saw Megan saw as her as a threat to Katie. Same with the dog. That's all it was for. And I guess that's fine if you need it. It's a horror story. I guess you don't necessarily need a lot, but the problem is once again the PG-13. You could have if this was R, could have showed it. I'm not saying you necessarily like with the dog, right? They didn't show the dog die. You just see Katie because that same night, Megan gets up, kills the dog. You just it's kind of implied because all you really see is Katie grab the dog from the hole, and that's it. Like she lures the dog over because she makes it think it's the neighbor's voice, and then the dog gets grabbed, and then that's I think the other problem is if you didn't make it R rated, you could have at least. I'm not saying you need to show the dog actually being killed, but you could have had a scene where they find the body later. I just because obviously because it's gonna be PG-13, they're not gonna show that. So it's almost like you're left with a question: where the fuck did the dog go? They never really. I don't think they explain it unless it's in the R-rated version. But yeah, they don't even explain where the dog went. Really, it's just we know she killed it. That I guess that's fine. You don't need to know where exactly it's buried, but whatever. So the next day, it almost like gets ignored because this is where Gemma starts almost realizing that she kind of may have fucked up with Megan because Megan's starting to act, like I mentioned, act on her own, but also noticing that Katie isn't even interacting with her anymore. So one day she decides to take Katie to this like because she was homeschooled forever to this like boys and girls club, and this is where this sequence is fine. All it really is just a sequence to set up a bully getting killed. You need bodies, right? It's fine. This movie wrote it in a way we can have extra bodies because yeah, you can't just immediately kill like a friend. Oh, I think before this I'll just jump and say yeah, the neighbor lady gets killed next. Um, she gets pretty brutal. Um, I'm trying to see where she killed. I guess I'll just talk about. Yeah, she killed. Ends up killing a bully, who becomes. To be fair though, I don't understand why they made the bully a dude. It was weird to me. I don't know. Maybe maybe when I was younger, I never saw that. But do dudes bully girls like that? Like literally, like how they would bully a guy. Maybe I don't know. I get it. Maybe it was an '80s trope, and maybe I get it. It's fine. It doesn't. I'm not necessarily like complaining about it. It's just a little, just kind of weird. But this scene was pretty. It was done well though, because initially, like, yeah, because he thinks it's just some stupid doll, and then yeah, she fucking grabs his hand. Yeah, grabs his ear. But then once again, because it's PG-13, you don't see the blood, and it's not like he's a little kid, so you can show it. And and then the way she gets up though is pretty fucked. And then yeah, you get like a chase scene, and I do like how M3GAN antagonizes him. So I will say that I do like how like self-aware M3GAN is, and then like when she's chasing him, she's like on all fours. So I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty creepy. Like when she's chasing him like all fours, causing him to basically jump off like a cliff. Yeah, he gets off of a road, and then yeah, he ends up getting hit by a car. Then yeah, he ends up killing the neighbor lady. Um, yeah, she ends up killing the neighbor. Um, the neighbor wasn't. I think like she drowned her basically. Yeah, she essentially she drowned the neighbor lady. Um, so yeah, after this, you kind of get Gemma. You have that moment with her. She starts to realize, okay, something's up with M3GAN. Because one day she tried to look into the files of that day of what happened to Brandon, but M3GAN purposely basically erased those and caused like error so she can't see it. And um, after this, she has like this scene with M3GAN. I'm not gonna lie, is like one of my favorite scenes in the movie, where she asks Meg if she did it, and M3GAN insinuates she does. Like she basically says she did it without saying she did it, and this is because at that moment it's like Gemma realized, holy shit, this thing is self aware. So those moments of the movie really bring it up for me. Um, so yeah, she turns M3GAN off and tries to take it to. I think Tess is like one of her friends. Is Tess and then Cole, who are like her co-workers. So they separate Katie from M3GAN. Katie starts freaking out. Yeah, this is where I was like, okay, fuck off. I'm so sick of this little girl. When she's to be fair, I don't like Gemma either. So it is like, but it's still a little bit like, goddamn. She straight up punches Gemma. But this is where you kind of have the moment where, she tries to tell, like, maybe I should have, like, tried to tell you about what happened to your parents so you can actually deal with it instead of pawning this doll off on you. So I do like that aspect about the movie. So after that emotional scene, which I think was fine. Obviously, I'm not gonna say it was great for me because like the acting wasn't the best or anything, but it was decent. It was fine. It works. That day, Gemma decides, yeah, she's gonna get rid of M3GAN, but that day they're getting ready for this big presentation of M3GAN, and I like the moment, the stuff with the news. I always love that stuff in movies because it makes it feel somewhat like it's actually happening. So that day they're getting ready to. She decide her secretly along with Tess and Cole decide, yeah, they're gonna get rid of M3GAN, but M3GAN overhears the conversation, breaks out while Gemma takes Katie out and drives off. Yeah, so M3GAN breaks out of her thing, kills both. Actually, no, she doesn't kill Tess and Cole. She just causes like an explosion, injuring both of them, and then she ends up killing David, his boss, and then Kurt, who Kurt, his only thing is that he basically was trying to steal leaks for Megan, but it's like that never really goes anywhere besides Megan mentioning it to make it seem like, yeah, Kurt killed himself. That's it. Because she was basically getting self aware to the point where, yeah, she was trying to basically frame Kurt for David's murder and killing himself. But the problem is, this is where we get the cool dance, which I'll admit the dance was creepy. When she does that dance, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty trippy. And she does like this flip. It's like, what the fuck? The way she moves, it's very uncanny. And I actually like it. Looks pretty good. Like I actually think like the practical work looks pretty good. Um, but this scene with the blade, if it was R rated, you could have gotten a really good kill. I'm not saying I needed Terrifier 2 level of bloody, but I needed something, you know. I felt like it needed something, you know. Making it PG-13 just was a weird decision. You could have shown her killing Kurt. 'Cause no, they kind of cut away. You hear it a little bit, like she clearly just stabbed him in the face. Like she made him, like she grabbed his hand and put it on the handle so he could make it look like she stabbed himself in the face. And it's like you could have showed that if it was R rated. So yeah, the people see the body when he get out of the elevator. Megan goes back to the house, confronts Gemma, and basically tries to tell her like, no, I'm gonna become basically Katie. She was basically saying that she's gonna become Katie's caretaker, and that she was willing to let Gemma focus on her career, but Gemma refuses. So she tries to kill Gemma. We get a chase scene. She leads Gemma back to her workshop room, and she nearly kills Gemma before Katie comes back. And yeah, this is where Katie walks in on basically Gemma about to um, murder Gemma. She then um, makes Katie then uses, because earlier in the film, Gemma shows off like her first robot she made, which is Bruce. Like this is like this big, kind of like generic robot, like you kind of see like nowadays, like no head, just kind of just arms and a big body. It was pretty. I'm not gonna lie, when she used that to, because Katie uses the gloves which control the robot to fight her, kind of beating up Megan for a little bit. She like even splits her in half, but then Megan ends up coming back and causing the robot to trip itself, so Katie can't use the robot anymore, and she even calls Katie an ungrateful little bitch. It's like, whoa. And then Gemma exposes Megan's weakness, and she ends up stabbing the chip with a screwdriver, which ends up killing her. And then you kind of get a sequel setup where like cops show up, and then you see like that her, because throughout the film Gemma has a smart home device, and it kind of activates, which it's basically setting up that Megan is in that device now. So we'll see if that's a sequel setup. I wouldn't mind a sequel, but overall, I didn't mind this movie. It had its moments. I like the questions it was asking. I think Megan is not a bad horror antagonist. I think if in a sequel, if you have her, add her a little bit more, I wouldn't mind her. And it's kind of fine that she doesn't really have any real backstory. She's not a person, or was a person at one point, like some of the other horror killers. She's an AI robot, so she doesn't really have a backstory. So she just kills. So that's fine. She's creepy. I love the design. It's simple. I just think it being R hurt it very much. because a lot of the kills were just so watered down, or there were kills like that could have been great if they were R-rated. Imagine if she pulled Brandon's ear off and then she dropped it in front of him, but it's like bloody, like not gushing bloody. And I think that's the problem too, because it's always that extreme of you just saying you just want a lot of uber violence. So like, no, even just tone. I'm like, I just go back to my question, or I'll admit this one isn't mine. I've seen someone ask the 7 one, but I just even brought up the other ones as examples of my own. But yeah, imagine if 7 was wasn't R rated, or if fucking um the original Alien was PG-13. And I understand that's not necessarily the same kind of movie, but yeah, it wouldn't be the same movie. I just think horror being R rated is better because you can actually go all out with just the concepts, you know? When you have them be PG-13, you're kind of limited. I'm not saying that all PG-13 horror is bad. And it's fine if you don't necessarily think the R-rated ruined the movie. You can still say, I still enjoyed it. I can still overlook some of it, but I'm not going to lie. I can't ignore that the R-rated, not being R-rated, didn't hurt it. I'm sorry. It did hurt it. I think a lot of those kills would have been so much better if it was R-rated. But, besides that, though, and I think the characters could have been a bit better. I didn't mind Tess and Cole. I think they were fine. But, like, everyone else was just kind of meh. I'm not going to lie. They were just kind of there. And Gemma was kind of unlikable. She does get better towards the end. But, yeah, she was annoying. Katie was annoying. But besides that, and this is just the truth. Most horror, you're not watching for the characters. This one, I will say this. This is Megan's movie in the sense she is the biggest VIP of the movie. She's creepy. She's not a bad new horror character, so I'm not gonna lie. I'm happy within the last few months we've had at least somewhat new horror. I mean, Art the Clown, and I'm not necessarily gonna say she's up there with him, but I do think Megan, I'm gonna somewhat consider. I'm not saying she's fully original, but an AI killer robot that is creepy. She's creepily designed. The way she moves, like every time she's on screen, I'm not gonna lie. She does. You have that uneasy feeling. It's like, what the fuck is that? You wouldn't want that near your. Realistically, I don't know if anyone would really want that thing near their kid, but hey, it works. It's like a realistic concept still. So that's why I think this movie works for me for the most part. If it was R rated, I honestly think this score would go up a bit. I just think the it not being R rated definitely hurt it a little bit, but it's an entertaining movie. If you need something to watch for like an hour and a half or so, I would recommend it. There's nothing else out right now. Why not? If you need a little quick trip to the movies, you want to get decent horror. And also, but I'd also say it's good for people like if you're not into horror and you don't like a lot of blood, this might be for you because you might just be kind of in awe of how creepy Megan is that you can probably overlook a lot of the other stuff and you're not as into gore, so it's fine for you. So you actually might like it more than I did in that sense. But overall, I enjoyed it. 6.5 out of 10. I didn't hate it. I'd watch it again. I'm probably gonna just watch if that R-rated cut. If I'm heard right, that R-rated cut is gonna be a thing. Then yeah, I am gonna definitely check that out. So, but as usual, tomorrow, Evil Dead, not Evil Dead 2. That'll be on the list. But top 10 horror sequels of my favorite horror sequels ever. I think there's been some good horror sequels out there, and this is gonna be specifically number 2s. Specifically, I might maybe down the line do one for 3, like best third in a whatever. But yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna take final hit and peace out. I think the only other kind of weak thing too, I didn't think M3GAN had that memorable of a score. And for me, I just think horror, you do need somewhat of a memorable score. Even like Black Christmas isn't, I wouldn't consider, I think it's iconic, but it's not like iconic up there like Halloween and like a lot of those main ones. But the score was there. And I just didn't think the score was there for this one. It was just, I didn't actually even remember that. I don't even think I can remember the score, to be honest. But that's fine. It doesn't ruin the movie. Still keeping it at 6.5 out of 10. But other than that, fuck Joe Biden. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow for my top 10 horror sequels. Peace.